Tonight we begin in a place where pain is common, help is limited, and the solutions are almost always worse than the problem. A toothache has arrived, uninvited, and medieval Europe has precisely zero sympathy to spare. The room is cold, not pleasantly brisk, but the kind of cold that settles into your bones and makes your fingers ache when you try to stretch them. Smoke hangs low from a fire that's trying its best, but mostly just sulking in the hearth. The straw mattress beneath you is lumpy, full of broken promises and the occasional flea. You've been awake for an hour, trying not to acknowledge the slow, pulsing throb in the back of your jaw. But it's there, the kind of pain that dulls and sharpens in waves, like a particularly vengeful tide. It radiates, not just your tooth, but your ear, your temple, the side of your neck. You run your tongue along your teeth and feel it. The one far back on the left, a bit loose, definitely angry, possibly planning something. You know exactly what this means. You'll need to do something about it, and that something will be medieval dentistry. I'm the candlelight historian, and this is history as it was lived, unforgiving, unfiltered, and brutally real. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you really enjoy these videos. And leave a comment with where you're listening from and what time it is there, just so we know we're not alone. Now, relax, take a deep breath, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You sit up slowly, shoulders stiff. The sun hasn't come up yet, but someone outside is already yelling at a chicken. The air smells like smoke, old wood, and something vaguely sour. That last one might be you, or the tooth. You press a hand to your jaw and try to will the pain away. It doesn't work. Pain, it turns out, is historically accurate. Your first instinct is to wait it out. Maybe it will just go away. Maybe it's not that bad. Maybe you were just sleeping on it wrong. Maybe teeth can change their minds. You try to ignore it, then try to sleep on your other side. Then you try some quiet swearing. It doesn't help. Eventually you shuffle to the door and push it open. The morning is damp. Not rainy, just wet in that deep, medieval way where even the air feels like it needs wringing out. The mud under your feet squelches. Chickens scatter. A dog watches you with mild disapproval. The village is small, a few houses, a few dozen people, and no dentist. That word hasn't been invented yet. You're not even sure what it would mean. Tooth remover, mouth pain merchant. Either way, it's not comforting. You know who to see first. The local wise woman. She lives in the mossy cottage near the edge of the woods, surrounded by plants that either heal you or poison you, depending on how recently she's been paid. Your mouth aches in steady pulses as you walk. It's a short walk, but everything in the Middle Ages takes longer when your molar feels like it's trying to escape your skull. The door to her hut creaks open. It always creaks, even when she oils it, probably for effect. She appears in the doorway like someone who is either just waking up or never truly sleeps. Her hair is tangled in a way that could either be accidental or spiritual. She looks you over with mild suspicion, then nods toward a crooked stool inside. She asks no questions. She only gestures toward a jar filled with brownish-green sludge and mutters something about rabbit's foot oil and sacred bark. You sit. She pokes around your mouth with a twig. It's not sanitized. You don't even think she wiped it off between patients. She sniffs once and leans back, squinting at your swollen jaw like it's a particularly slow riddle. Then she rummages through baskets and emerges with three things: a scrap of linen, a handful of herbs that look suspiciously like dried weeds, and a small carved wooden charm that smells faintly of goat. You don't ask what any of it does. She doesn't offer. She begins to grind the herbs with a stone and mumbles in Latin, or something she hopes sounds like Latin, before smearing the mixture on the cloth and pressing it to your face. It burns and smells like something that should never be inside a human mouth. You wince. She nods, as if to say, yes, that means it's working. You're not convinced. You taste earth, vinegar, and possibly regret. But for a brief moment, the burning distracts you from the original pain. Unfortunately, the burning fades, and the pain returns, with friends. You pay her in whatever you've got, a few coins, a bit of wool, a blessing. She seems pleased enough and tells you with absolute certainty that the pain will be gone by moonrise. It is not. By the time night falls again, the left side of your face is visibly swollen, and your mood has shifted from hopeful to medieval despair. There is only one thing left to do: the barber. You've seen him before, cutting hair with one hand, sawing off a man's leg with the other. He works in the town square, which smells faintly of blood and boiling cloth. His sign has a red and white pole. You assume that's for decoration. It's not. Tomorrow you'll go, but tonight you lie back down on your scratchy straw mattress and try to think of something other than the dull throb in your skull. You wonder briefly how many people before you have had this same exact problem. You wonder if they made it out with all their teeth, or their lives. The fire has gone out. The room is cold again. You shift your head slightly and the pain flares, sharp and furious. You mutter a word not invented yet and close your eyes. Morning can't come soon enough. You wake up with your face pressed against the straw mattress and your mouth slightly open. That was a mistake. Cold air rushes over the exposed tooth like a wind sent from the lowest circle of medieval dental hell. The pain is now not just insistent, it is confident. It knows you. It has settled in. It is writing its name in your gums. There's no denying it anymore. You've crossed the threshold from mild discomfort into, this tooth is definitely plotting something. So you wrap yourself in your scratchiest wool, which is to say, your only wool, and head out again. It's still early, and the village is yawning awake. Thin smoke curls from chimneys. A woman empties a bucket of something best left unidentified into the street. The ground is a patchwork of mud, ash, and hopeful manure. Somewhere, a baby is already crying, and a man is already arguing with a goose. Your destination is not the town square. Not yet. First, you're going to try something gentler, if not better. You're heading to the other expert in bodily misfortune, the herbalist. She's not quite the healer, not quite the midwife, and not quite sober, depending on the hour. But she knows her plants, or at least insists that they talk to her. Her home is more garden than cottage. Bundles of herbs hang from every beam, forming a low-hanging canopy that smells like damp moss and licorice with a hint of mold. As you duck inside, your head brushes something that may or may not be a dead animal tied with string. You try not to react. She greets you with a hum that could mean hello, or possibly just acknowledgement of your visible swelling. Then she rummages through a pile of jars that appear to be loosely sorted by how dusty they are. She offers you a drink. You ask, "What is it?" She says, "Helps with pain." That's not exactly an answer, but you take it anyway. The liquid is dark and bitter, tasting like oversteeped bark and anxiety. It scalds your throat on the way down, and the herbalist nods approvingly, as if watching someone accept a dare. Then comes the poultice. She smashes some dried flowers with a flat rock, adds a thick paste of honey and vinegar, and wraps it all in what was once a sock. She presses it against your jaw with the gentleness of someone trying to plug a dam with a dishcloth. It's cold, sticky, and vaguely pulsing. She tells you to hold it there until the spirits are appeased. You don't ask which spirits. While you wait, she gives you more tips. Cloves, if you can find them. Mint, if you can't. Chew on one or both until your mouth goes numb or you forget why you're doing it. Then she tells you the big one, the badger skull. Yes, she says. If you can obtain the skull of a badger and whisper your pain into its empty eye sockets, the ache may pass to the creature's spirit and leave your body. This only works, she adds, if you're truly sincere. You nod politely and press the sock poultice harder against your cheek. There are other suggestions too. Rub your feet with garlic. Place a frog under your pillow. Sleep facing the east. Let blood from your ankle. You realize suddenly that most people in this time are simply guessing. You thank her with a coin and a small braid of bread. She accepts both and tells you your soul is probably out of alignment, but that the honey will help for now. As you step outside, the wind hits your face. The cold stings the inflamed side of your jaw and sends a flare of heat through your head. The pain is back, possibly worse, possibly angry about the sock. You try chewing on some mint. It does nothing. You try humming a chant the herbalist suggested. It attracts a goat. Eventually, with a mix of dread and resignation, you turn toward the town square, toward the barber surgeon, toward the man with the blades and the stains, and the hands that have held more teeth than he can count. The square is already lively. A few stalls are open. A child is selling stale turnips. A group of chickens are losing a dispute with a cartwheel. You find the barber surgeon's shop, not by looking, but by following the sound of shouting and the scent of hot iron. The red and white pole outside his door spins slowly in the breeze. You've heard someone say the colors represent blood and bandages. You're not sure if that's true, but the blood part seems likely. You approach the doorway. He's inside, sharpening something on a whetstone. He sees you, nods once, and gestures for you to come in. Your feet don't want to move. Your tooth, however, demands it, so you step inside. The room is dim, smelling of smoke, rust, and boiled linen. Everything is wooden, stained, and slightly damp. A stool sits in the middle, positioned like an accusation. On a table nearby, a set of tools lies arranged, each one looking like it has a story you'd rather not hear. He asks no questions, just motions to your jaw. You open your mouth and try not to wince as he jabs at the problem tooth with something cold and metallic. He grunts, nods, points to the stool, and that's when you realize the sock, the badger skull, and the mint were the easy part. The stool is small, too small, and low to the ground in a way that suggests either humility or helplessness, both of which will be required. It creaks when you sit, which is reassuring only in the sense that at least it hasn't broken yet. The barber surgeon moves around you with the casual ease of someone who's done this many times, which, unfortunately, is not the comfort you hoped it would be. He wears an apron stained with what you desperately hope is wine, though there is something about the way it crusts near the edges that says otherwise. He picks up a cloth and rubs his hands, which doesn't clean them so much as redistribute the grime. Then he looks at you. Really looks, a long pause, then a slow nod, the kind that says, yes, this tooth will be coming out. There's no question, no discussion. It is the only solution. In the Middle Ages, almost every tooth problem has the same answer. Whether it's aching, chipped, loose, or just suspiciously quiet, removal is the cure. Preventative care, after all, is still several centuries and at least 2 pandemics away. You want to ask about options, alternatives, a second opinion. But the look in his eyes tells you he is the opinion. He is the option. He gestures to his assistant, a boy of perhaps 13, wearing a tunic 2 sizes too large and the permanent expression of someone who's seen too much. The boy picks up a leather strap and begins to wrap it around the stool. You realize, with a quiet sense of betrayal, that it's meant to hold your arms down. The barber surgeon lifts your chin and tilts your head back with the tenderness of someone adjusting a melon for carving. He examines the tooth again, then mutters something under his breath. The words are short and unpleasant, probably Latin, possibly curses. Then come the tools. He lays them out for you like a twisted dinner service: forceps, pliers, hooks, a small curved blade, and something that looks exactly like the iron part of a fireplace poker. They gleam slightly in the firelight. None of them look like they were made with mouths in mind, or comfort, or forgiveness. The air in the room is thick, heavy with the scent of metal and sweat, and something slightly sweet, possibly dried blood, possibly herbal poultice residue, possibly hope attempting to escape. You're not offered alcohol, not even the bad stuff. That's a luxury for wealthier mouths. If you're lucky, you might get a stick to bite. If you're really lucky, you'll keep your jaw. The assistant walks around behind you and places his small hands firmly on either side of your head. It's a steady grip, too steady for someone his age. You wonder how many heads he's held. The barber surgeon selects his tool, something that looks like tongs that got into a bar fight. He tests the hinge with a slow click-click, as if to make sure it's still slightly misaligned for maximum agony. Then he says the first words he's spoken all morning: "Don't move," which is a bit like telling someone to relax while being attacked by a bear. Your mouth opens, slowly, reluctantly, like a door on rusty hinges. The tool slides inside. You feel the cold metal press against the sore tooth, and it's like a jolt of lightning straight to your soul. He adjusts, twists slightly, then clamps. The pressure is immediate, crushing, not sharp yet, but threatening. Your knuckles turn white. Your legs stiffen. Then he starts to pull. It's not a smooth motion. It's not even a pull, really. It's more of a wrench. A twisting, yanking, hopeful kind of effort, the way one might attempt to extract a nail from old wood. A few more twists, a snap, not from the tool. The pain is unkind. It floods your vision with white, not like a light, more like fog, a fog that screams. You grip the stool like it might float you away from all of this, and the boy behind you tightens his hold. There is a moment, mid-extraction, where time pauses. You can hear the crackle of the fire, the low hum of voices outside, the distant bleating of a goat, and then a pop, followed by a squelch, then silence. The barber surgeon steps back, holding something small and red and slightly root-like in his iron tongs. Your tooth. Possibly a few other things attached. He peers at it with mild interest, then tosses it into a bucket that makes a clinking sound you wish you hadn't heard. You slump forward. The assistant releases your head. Your jaw hangs slightly open. There's something warm on your tongue. Blood, mostly. Maybe regret. The barber hands you a cloth. It's not clean, but it's yours now. He mutters something like "done" and goes back to his tools, already preparing them for the next poor soul with a rebellious molar. You sit there, dazed, lighter by one tooth, heavier with knowledge. You now understand why people feared the barber surgeon, and why so many simply lived with the pain. Or, in many cases, didn't. Outside, the day continues. Chickens peck, a cart rumbles by. Life moves forward, utterly indifferent to the fact that you have just survived something older than anesthesia and more personal than religion. You stand up slowly, feeling every creak in your joints, and step into the sunlight with your jaw throbbing and your dignity somewhere under the stool. The assistant hands you a small cloth bag as you leave. You don't ask what's in it. You don't want to know. The square is quieter now, though that may just be your hearing, still fuzzy after the sound your own tooth made leaving your body. You walk like someone returning from war, not a victorious kind of march, more the slow, lopsided shuffle of a person who's recently met the business end of medieval medicine. The assistant had gestured for you to sit still for a moment after the extraction, but you couldn't. Something in your legs wanted distance, from the stool, from the man, from the smell. The chair, or what passes for it, is still there, lonely in the middle of the barber's room, for crooked legs, uneven seat, wobbly backrest. Not even a cushion, a plank with ambition. And yet, despite the chair's plainness, it has character. It has witnessed more jaw-clenching, finger-gripping, soul-leaving agony than anything else in the village. And somehow, it's still standing. You hadn't thought much about chairs before today. Now, you're intimately familiar with this one. It tilts slightly to the left. It creaks even when no one is touching it. The seat is smooth in places from years of shifting, squirming, begging bodies. You're almost certain the dark stain on the left armrest is blood, or sweat, or both. You try not to think about it. This chair is not designed for comfort. It's designed for access, lower than it should be, keeping you physically beneath the man with the tools. It's about power, whether it means to be or not. Sitting there, you are something to be worked on, like a roast or a block of wood. There's a headrest, sort of. A leather strap nailed to the top rail, looped behind your skull, fastened with a knot so crude it might have come from a fishing boat. Didn't hold you in place, exactly. More like, reminded you not to run in front of the chair. Just underfoot is a small bowl. You hadn't noticed it until the bleeding started. A humble little basin. It's old, chipped, and stained with more history than you care to consider. The bowl is there to catch the aftermath, the mix of saliva, blood, and whatever else leaves a mouth in distress. You'd like to think someone washes it. You'd really like to think that. Nearby, there's a cloth. It's been cleaned, which is a generous way of saying it's been wrung out and left to dry. Probably in the same bucket used for washing feet, or horses, or sins. No one in the square looks at you as you emerge. That's not out of politeness. It's just that this kind of thing happens all the time. Another person with a jaw wrapped in linen, another step taken on the long, crumbling road of dental survival. You sit on a low stone wall near the well and try to breathe through your nose. Opening your mouth feels risky. Your tongue carefully probes the empty space, like a child inspecting the ruins of a sandcastle after the tide. It's gone. Fully and absolutely gone. There's a dull ache radiating up into your cheekbone, down into your neck, and across your soul. But there's something else too. The faintest trace of relief. The sharp pain is gone, replaced by swelling, soreness, and something warm oozing slowly into your cloth wrap. A boy walks past holding an apple. You look at it with a longing that borders on religious. Biting an apple now feels like an act of reckless bravery. You can't imagine ever doing it again. A woman across the square smiles at someone, revealing for teeth, none of them aligned, most of them grey. She looks happy, functional. You wonder if your missing tooth is the beginning of your liberation. Fewer teeth, fewer problems. Chewing is overrated anyway. Back in the barber shop, the chair sits empty, waiting. It's not a throne, not even a seat of honor. But in this town, it's the most visited place after the tavern and the church. Possibly more than both combined. You realize something else. This chair has seen everyone. The old, the young, the rich, the unfortunate. No one escapes it. It's the great leveler, more than plague, more than taxes, more than war. Everyone, at some point, must sit. As the ache in your jaw grows duller, your thoughts turn darker. What happens if another tooth goes bad? What if it's one you actually use? What if, heaven forbid, it's two at once? You lean your head back against the wall and close your eyes. A breeze picks up, rustling the cloths hung from nearby windows. Somewhere, someone is singing off-key. The barber's chair waits behind you, patient and unfeeling. You are not the first. You will not be the last. The real tragedy is that, in 100 years, that chair will still be there, and your tooth, now nestled among a dozen others in a quiet, clinking bucket, will still be telling your story, silently. The tools are still on the table when you return, though calling it a table is generous. It is more like a plank of wood balanced on two mismatched barrels. The surface is rough, scorched in one corner, and permanently stained in ways that do not invite curiosity. Everything about it says this is a place where pain happens. Not maliciously, just routinely. The barber surgeon is cleaning something with a cloth that has already lost the battle with cleanliness. You step inside slowly, not entirely sure why you've come back. Maybe to understand what just happened. Maybe to see the instruments that made it happen. He barely glances at you. He continues wiping a tool with a steady hand. You notice the tools are not sorted by size or purpose. They are arranged more like a butcher's favorite, whatever gets the job done. There is the pelican, named not for its elegance, but because its shape vaguely resembles the beak of a bird. It is used to lever teeth out of jaws. It does not look precise. It looks persuasive. There is also the dental key, a short metal shaft with a rotating claw. You've heard that it works by gripping the tooth and twisting, like unlocking a door. Only the door is your face. Then there are the pliers, ordinary in shape, extraordinary in consequence. Their iron is dark with use. They are worn smooth where hundreds of hands have gripped them. You wonder how many teeth they have claimed. Probably thousands. You think of your own tooth now resting in that clinking bucket, part of the collection. You look closer at the curved blade. It is small, cruelly sharp, used to cut the gum if the tooth is stubborn, or if the roots are tangled, or if the surgeon is just having one of those days. The handle is wrapped in leather that is too slick, too shiny. It is not blood. Not anymore. Time has worn it into something else. Something that no longer feels like it belongs in the human mouth. Yet here it is. There is also a hammer, small but heavy. Not technically a dental tool, but it is here, which is unsettling. You glance to the side and see the bowl again, now filled with cloudy water where metal soaks lazily. There is no soap, no boiling, just water. You are not convinced it does much, but it makes people feel better to see the tools submerged. It gives the illusion of care. The assistant returns. He carries a bundle of cloth and begins folding the tools into it, one by one. There is no ceremony, no reverence, just the quiet, familiar motions of someone wrapping up another day of extractions. Another day of heads held still and teeth discarded like stones. You look back at the chair. Still empty, still slightly crooked. You wonder how many people screamed into their fists sitting right there. How many bit through their own lips to keep still. How many left with more blood than they came in with. The barber finally speaks. He says 2 words. He says, "All done," then nods toward the door. It is not cruel, it is just business. The kind of business where the results walk out clutching their faces. You take one last look at the tools, and for a strange moment, you feel something like admiration. These instruments have done their job for centuries. Blunt, brutal, and effective. You do not have to like them, but you understand them now. In the same way a knight understands his sword, or a thief understands a lockpick. They are instruments of survival. As you step out into the daylight again, your jaw throbs, your body aches, but your mind is clearer. You have seen what waits behind that red and white pole. You have met the tools that have shaped the smiles of 1,000 mouths, or unshaped them. And now, for better or worse, you carry their mark. The pain is no longer sharp. It has shifted into a slow, throbbing presence, less like a knife and more like a dull drum beat just beneath your skin. The kind of ache that hums along with your heartbeat, still there, still insistent. Just a little quieter. You were told to rest, to keep your head elevated, to rinse, if you can, with warm ale or salt water. The idea of warm ale in your mouth does not comfort you. It conjures up flavors best left to memory. But salt, at least, you can find. What you really want is stillness. But it's hard to find when your mouth is full of soreness and your body is full of tension. You lie down on a bench in the back room of your hut, the kind of bench usually used for sitting or drying things. Today it's a place of recovery. Outside, the village goes about its business. Someone is arguing with a pig. A child laughs too loudly. Someone knocks over a barrel. Life continues. Your pain does not interrupt it. You begin to think about the moment before the extraction. The way the assistant held your head. His hands were steady. Too steady. He had done this before. He knew when to press, when to tighten, when to let go. He is young, but not new. You think about the way the barber gave no instructions, no explanation, just pressure, just motion, like a man digging a root from the earth. No one explains to the root what is about to happen. You remember the feeling, cold, metal, then heat, then sound. There was a sound, a tearing, crunching noise. Not loud, but unforgettable. A sound that came from inside you. A sound you hoped never to hear again. And then there was the silence. Not real silence, but the silence of the moment after, when everything inside your skull goes quiet for a few seconds. When your body is too surprised to feel anything. When the pain has left, but hasn't yet returned. That silence didn't last long. After that came the cloth, the taste of blood, the ache that spread like smoke, and the walk home. You do not remember much of that walk, only that your legs moved, that the birds didn't stop singing, that nobody looked at you twice. You sit up slowly. The inside of your cheek is sore. You have bitten it without meaning to. Everything inside your mouth feels swollen. Your tongue avoids the gap, but your mind keeps going back to it. You begin to wonder what would have happened if you hadn't gone, if you had let the tooth be. If you had just waited, maybe it would have gotten better. Maybe it would have gone away. You know that is not true, but still, you wonder. Some people do wait. Some never go. They live with the pain, or die with it. There is no middle path. Not really. You think of the man who lost his jaw to rot, the one they said smelled of vinegar and meat. You think of the woman who had her tooth cracked in half, and then removed in pieces, over days. Her screams were still echoing through the village long after her voice had gone. And you wonder, did they sit in the same chair? Did they hold the same cloth? Did they look at the same tools and feel the same fear? Probably. That chair has seen generations. It has never been replaced. It has outlived most of the villagers. It might outlive you too. Your head begins to ache again. You lie back and close your eyes. There is a knock on your door. Slow, just twice. Then silence. You open it to find the assistant. He holds out a small cloth packet. Inside are dried leaves. He does not speak, just nods once, then turns and leaves. You open the cloth. It smells of mint and something sharp. Maybe clove, maybe something else. You chew one leaf slowly. The bitterness spreads, then fades, then numbs. It is not relief, but it is something like it. You sit outside on your step and let the sun hit your face. You are missing one tooth, but you are still here. The village bell rings, not for you, for the hour, for the people, for the day. You swallow slowly and watch the world continue, and you try to forget the sound. The pain is returning, not all at once, not in that sharp, undeniable way it first arrived, but in quiet little waves, each one just a little stronger than the last, like it's testing you, seeing how much you'll tolerate before you do something foolish. Like going back, you sit on the bench, chewing another of the minty leaves the assistant brought you. They help a little. Mostly they distract your tongue from exploring the hole in your mouth. But even distraction is welcome. You begin to wonder if he got it all. The tooth, did it come out clean? You try not to think about it, but your tongue betrays you. It drifts to the space where the tooth used to live. The hole is soft, raw, not smooth. There's something hard near the edge. It might be bone, or just swelling. You press against it gently and immediately regret it. The ache pulses in your temple now. A steady knock, like someone tapping from inside your skull. You shift your jaw and hear a small pop. That was new. You try to distract yourself by walking. The air outside is crisp, not yet cold. You pass the baker's house. He is slapping dough with a rhythm that sounds too cheerful. You pass the tanner's yard. The smell still turns your stomach. You pass the well and see two women arguing about who drew water first. Normal life, uninterrupted, and here you are. One tooth short, moving slower than usual, staring at the ground like it might explain something. You feel a sudden warmth on your cheek. Blood, not much. Just enough to remind you that healing is a full-time job. You wipe it with your sleeve and keep walking. It's not long before you're back at the barber shop. You don't remember deciding to come here. Your feet brought you, possibly out of curiosity, possibly out of fear. Inside, the chair is occupied now. A young man, maybe 17, leans back with a tight jaw and wide eyes. The assistant is behind him, already tying the strap around his head. The barber surgeon is holding the pelican tool again, the same one he used on you. You step back from the doorway. No one sees you. No one stops. You are not part of this scene anymore, but you remember it all. The tool enters the boy's mouth. The assistant leans in. There's a pause, then the sound, a crack. Not a sharp snap like a twig, more like the slow crunch of stepping on ice that's not quite ready to break. You wince before you realize it. The sound has a memory, and that memory is yours. The boy makes a noise, not a scream, just a low moan, like the pain has filled him up and is now seeping out. You leave, quickly, not running, but not strolling either. You sit behind the tavern, where the stone wall is warm from the sun. You press your back against it and close your eyes, and the sound plays again in your head. That noise, the moment the tooth gives up. That feeling when something that has always been part of you suddenly isn't. You take a slow breath. You think about the chair. You think about the assistant's quiet hands. You think about how normal it all felt in that room. As if this was just something people do. A daily routine, like milking cows or chopping firewood. You think about how calm the barber was. As if removing teeth is no different than trimming a beard. Just another service. Another line in the list of things he does. Haircut, stitching, amputation, extraction. You wonder if he ever dreams about the sound, or if it's become part of him. Your jaw pulses again. A slow, heavy beat. You are healing, you think, but healing hurts too. You take another of the leaves and press it against your gums. The bitter taste is almost welcome now. A rooster screams in the distance. Someone drops a pot. Life continues, and your body, slowly, quietly, tries to return to what it was. But you know it never really will. Not entirely, because now you understand what it means to lose something, and what it takes to remove it. You are sitting on the step outside your home when the neighbor walks past and tosses you a stick. It is short, about the length of your hand, whittled smooth at one end and gnawed at the other. Without looking up, he mutters something that sounds like bite on that next time. Then he keeps walking, like he's just offered you a recipe or directions to the market. You turn the stick in your hands. It smells faintly of smoke and something bitter. Probably old sweat. You don't want to ask. This is the medieval answer to anesthesia. Not herbs, not magic, just wood. Biting down on something, anything, to distract the brain from what's happening elsewhere. To keep your teeth clenched tight while the pain is pried loose. You chew the end gently, more out of curiosity than necessity. It gives just slightly, a soft crunch of old fibers. You imagine holding this between your teeth while the barber surgeon goes in for a second round, and you understand instantly why so many people lose more than just the tooth. You put the stick down, your jaw still aches. Deep and slow, like it's thinking about whether to get worse again. The bleeding has mostly stopped, replaced now with that sour, metallic taste of drying blood. You rinse with water from a clay cup. The water is warm and cloudy. It helps, but only just. You wonder how many people have chewed sticks like this one. How many have clenched their jaws, gritted their teeth, and tried to remain still while someone pulled part of their body out with iron tools. You remember the moment before it happened, the assistant's hand on your shoulder, the heat of the room, the click of the tool being opened, and that voice, quiet, calm, just 2 words. Open wide. You never really opened. Not fully. Your mouth gave way out of fear more than obedience. And the stick, if you had been given one, might not have survived. A child walks past your doorway, holding a long reed like a sword. He pauses, stares at you, then points to your cheek and says, "Did it hurt?" You nod. He nods back, seriously, then continues down the path, slashing the air at imaginary foes. You feel strangely grateful for that brief exchange. The sun is beginning to lower. It casts long shadows across the village. You walk a little, slowly, and make your way to the edge of the field. A few sheep blink at you with the indifference only sheep can manage. You sit on a fallen log and pull the stick from your pocket again. You press it gently against your lower teeth, not to chew, just to hold it there. To remember, in some places, They use leather straps. Others use ropes or cloth. Some people bite down on a leather belt. But wood is the most common. Because it's cheap. Because it's easy. Because it works well enough. You've heard of people snapping the stick in half from the pressure of their own bite. You've heard of people losing teeth that weren't even the problem. You've heard of jaws dislocating, of gums splitting, of splinters breaking off and getting stuck under the tongue, and still people go back. Because pain is worse. Because infection is worse. Because eventually you'll do anything to make it stop. You sit on the log until the shadows stretch longer, until the wind picks up and brings with it the smell of smoke from the evening fires. You chew the stick one more time, thoughtfully, and then toss it into the grass. You will not need it again. Hopefully, back at your house, the fire is low but steady. You warm your hands and sit close, letting the heat reach your cheeks. Your jaw still feels swollen. Your mouth feels unfamiliar, as if part of you is missing and your tongue hasn't figured out how to move around it yet. You sip a little mead from a wooden cup. It's warm and slightly sour, but it's gentle on the mouth, and it quiets the ache. You think of the others who have sat by the same kind of fire, with the same pain, holding the same stick. You wonder if they too stared into the flames and tried not to remember the sound. You lean your head back and breathe through your nose. It's over. You hope, but in this time, in this place, you never know what pain is waiting round the corner. You just hope the next one can be handled without the chair, without the tools, without the stick. And if not, well, you can always find another branch. By the third day, something is wrong. The swelling hasn't gone down. If anything, it's spread. Your cheek feels tight, warm, too warm. When you press your fingers against it, the skin gives a little, soft, like ripened fruit. That's not comforting. Your jaw won't open all the way, not without effort, and there's a bitter taste in your mouth that's getting worse. Not blood, something else. Something sour, something sick. You tilt your head forward, slowly. A small amount of thick liquid seeps into your mouth from the hole where the tooth used to live. You do not need anyone to tell you this is not a good sign. Infection has arrived. In the Middle Ages, this is less a medical condition and more a slow, wandering danger. It moves quietly. Sometimes it stays in the mouth. Sometimes it travels. Sometimes it finds the blood. And when that happens, you are no longer a person with a sore tooth. You are a person preparing to die. You lie on your bed and take shallow breaths. The herbalist is the first person you think of, not because she can cure it, no one really can, but because she might give you something to ease the pressure. You make your way to her hut just before sunrise. The ground is wet. The air smells like damp leaves and iron. Every step sends a small jolt of pain up the side of your face. She opens the door before you knock, as if she heard you coming. She does not ask what is wrong. She sees your cheek. She sees your eyes. She does not smile. Inside, she prepares a poultice of boiled onion, honey, and wine. You do not know if this helps, but it is warm, and she tells you to hold it against your face until the pain speaks more softly. She also gives you a paste to smear on your gums. It burns, the kind of burn that makes your eyes water. But afterward, the pressure lifts just a little. She does not charge you this time. On your way back, you pass the carpenter, who nods at your swollen face with a look of distant recognition. He pulls a small wooden object from his pocket and hands it to you without a word. It's smooth, round at one end, flat at the other. A makeshift plug, he says. Something to block the wind from getting in the wound. You nod, accept it, and tuck it into your pocket. You don't use it, but you appreciate the gesture. In a world without proper medicine, kindness is its own kind of remedy. You spend the day inside, lying on your side, fire crackling weakly beside you. You chew a bit of garlic. You rinse with warm brine. You mumble a prayer or two, not because you believe they'll work, but because you can't afford not to try. By evening, the fever begins. It starts behind your eyes. A slow, creeping warmth that feels like you've been in the sun too long. Then your hands begin to sweat, even as your feet stay cold. Your thoughts grow fuzzy. You doze off, then wake, then doze again. Your dreams are strange. A tooth floating in a bowl, a stick snapping in two, the chair creaking in an empty room. You wake in the dark, unsure of how long it's been. The fire is low. You are soaked with sweat, but the pain in your face is dull now, not gone, but distant. You wonder if this is good, or just the beginning of something worse. In the Middle Ages, infections are mysterious. Some people survive them, some do not. No one really knows why. If you live, it is often considered a blessing, or a sign, or luck. No one talks about immune systems. No one prescribes antibiotics. No one even knows the word. You lie back and watch the firelight flicker across the ceiling. You are still breathing. For now, that is enough. You pull your blanket up to your chin and listen to the wind outside. It howls across the village like a voice with nothing left to say. You close your eyes and you wait for morning. Morning comes without much ceremony. The light creeps in slowly through the cracks in the shutters, and you open your eyes to the grey, flickering shadows of another cold day. The pain is quieter, not gone, but different. Less like something sharp, more like something watching. You shift your jaw gently and feel a dull pressure, but no new fire. You sit up slowly, waiting to see if the dizziness will return. It doesn't. You run your tongue along your teeth. There's still a hole, still that strange new shape to your mouth, but the awful taste has faded. Only a hint of bitterness remains. You rinse with water and spit into a clay bowl. The liquid is pink, not red. That feels like progress. You step outside. The air is brisk, fresh in a way that cuts but also clears. You can smell smoke from half a dozen hearths. Something sweet too. Maybe baking, maybe boiling berries, or maybe your senses are just returning to you, one by one. The village is already busy. Someone is dragging a goat. Someone else is yelling about eggs. You walk slowly through it all, holding your jaw like it might detach if you're not careful. People glance at you and look away just as quickly. Your face is still swollen, your movements still stiff, but you are walking. And that is more than some manage. You pass the old man who sells vinegar. He sees your wrapped jaw and lifts a jug. He says, "Rinse with this." Then adds, "Not too much." Unless you want to forget your own name, you nod and keep walking. It's hard not to notice now the mouths of others. How few people smile, how often lips stay closed. You see gaps, you see blackened teeth. You see signs of past pain in nearly every face, and you begin to realize something. Mouths were never meant to be clean, not here, not now. There are no toothbrushes, no paste, no floss, no gentle mint rinse. Clean teeth, the way you think of them, simply do not exist. Some people chew herbs, stalks of mint or thyme, mostly to mask their breath, not protect their gums. Others carry little wooden toothpicks tucked into their belts. They jab at meals long after eating, working out meat that got caught between broken molars, a few swish vinegar, not because it helps, but because it's sharp, and sharp things feel like they're doing something. There are brushes made of twigs. Chew the end until it frays, then scrub. There are powders made of salt, charcoal, or dried mint. Sprinkle it on a cloth, rub until your gums bleed. That means it's working. You remember the herbalist's advice: chew cloves if you can afford them, not for health, just for comfort. And always, always avoid hard bread. You pass a boy with a mouth full of small, crooked teeth. He's gnawing on something tough, and you can already see the cracks forming. You want to warn him, but there is nothing to say. He will learn the same way everyone does, by losing something. You sit near the well and watch the village move. You see how many people are already missing teeth. Some young, some old, some with mouths like ruined fences, some with only one or two left, and yet they eat, they laugh, they live. You remember hearing someone say, "Better no teeth than bad teeth." Now you understand it. A rotting tooth can kill. A missing one cannot. You touch your cheek gently. The swelling is still there, but it's shrinking. Your jaw moves more easily. The pain is fading into memory. You know it could come back. Another tooth, another infection. The cycle could begin again next week, or next year. But for now, it's over. You are one tooth lighter, a little wiser, a little slower to bite down, and much more careful about what you chew. You stand, stretch your back, and head home. The fire is out. You rekindle it slowly, stacking the wood with more care than usual. You warm your hands, then sip water, then sit. Your mouth is healing, your mind too. And you begin to accept what the village already knows. Mouths in this world are not meant to shine. They are meant to survive. You do not look into the mirror, not because you don't have one. You don't, of course, but because if you did, there's no telling what you might see. A crooked smile, a swollen cheek, a gap where something used to be. Better to rely on the reactions of others, and most people aren't reacting, which tells you everything you need to know. You're not unusual, you're not frightening, you're just normal. A face like everyone else, worn down, weathered, slightly broken in the middle. The village has its routines, and now you are one of them again. You walk through the market. No one flinches. No one stares at your cheek. No one offers advice. Everyone here knows what it's like to lose a tooth, or 5, or all of them. You pass an older woman sitting on a wooden crate. Her mouth opens when she laughs, and there's not a single tooth left. Just pink gums and a surprising amount of confidence. She is eating bread, soft bread, to be fair, dipped in something warm, but still chewing, smiling, living. You nod to her. She nods back. There is no shame in toothlessness here. In fact, for many, it's a relief. The pain is gone. The threat is gone. The barber surgeon no longer looms in the background of their meals. There is nothing left to remove, nothing left to rot. It is a strange kind of freedom. You sit on a bench near the baking oven. A few people gather around it, trading gossip and food. A man next to you offers a roasted onion. You take it. It's soft, easy to chew, warm and slightly sweet. You feel the space where the tooth once lived. Your tongue brushes it without meaning to, again and again, like checking the door is locked, even when you already know. A merchant tells a joke. A few people laugh. One of them snorts through their nose and covers their mouth quickly. A flicker of embarrassment, not because of the sound, but because they showed their teeth. It's strange, you think. In a world where everyone has bad teeth, no one wants to show them. You notice that laughter here is often done with lips closed. Smiles are tight, modest. You've rarely seen a wide grin, not unless someone's drunk or fearless. The rich cover their teeth with cloth when they speak. The very rich don't speak at all in public. They just nod and let their servants do the talking. The monks speak less out of humility, or silence, or wisdom, but you now suspect it might also be because they too are missing a few important molars. It's hard to hold a conversation when your mouth is falling apart. Still, people manage. There's a kind of quiet dignity in the way the village carries itself. No one is ashamed of their breath. No one apologizes for how their voice sounds through missing teeth. It is what it is, just another part of being alive. You see a young girl pick up a twig and begin chewing on the end. Her mother nods approvingly. The frayed wood acts like a brush, a primitive effort, a ritual more than a solution. You think of your own teeth, the ones still hanging on. You vow to chew slowly, rinse when you can, avoid the seeds that get stuck, avoid the bones that crack enamel. But even as you make these promises, you know what's coming. Eventually, another one will go, and when it does, the village will nod at you again. The barber will gesture to the chair, the boy will bring the cloth, and the tools will clink softly in the background. You are part of the cycle now. One tooth down, many more to go. You sip something warm from a wooden cup. It's not sweet, not strong, just simple, like the bread, like the air, like the silence shared between people who know the same kind of pain. You smile, carefully, and no one notices, because they're all smiling the same way. You wake up earlier than usual. Your jaw feels better, still sore, but no longer the center of your universe. The swelling has gone down. Your mouth moves more easily. Even your mood is lighter. The fog has lifted, so you decide to walk, not just through the village this time, but farther, past the fields, toward the monastery. It's a quiet walk, the kind of silence that feels earned. Your boots crunch against the damp earth, and every few steps you catch the scent of pine, or wet hay, or something sweet blooming near the hedgerow. The monastery comes into view just after sunrise. Its stone walls are pale in the early light, glowing faintly with dew. A monk is already in the garden, trimming something with a blade smaller than you expected. He doesn't look up. You knock gently on the wooden gate. After a moment, another monk appears, older, thin, and wrapped in a brown robe that has seen more seasons than you have. He studies your face for a long moment, then opens the gate without a word. You enter. Inside the walls, the world is slower. Birds sound clearer, footsteps are softer. You feel a little like an intruder, walking through this pocket of quiet order. But they welcome you, in the way monks do, with nods and silence. You explain, with a few gestures and a swollen cheek, that you had a tooth pulled. The monk doesn't flinch. He simply guides you toward a bench near a small stone fountain. He brings you a drink, something warm, earthy, and bitter. You sip it slowly. It tastes of bark, dried leaves, and discipline. But it eases your jaw. You ask, with a point to your mouth, how they care for their teeth here. He disappears, then returns with a small pouch. Inside are mint leaves, not dried. Fresh, he offers one. You chew gently. The taste fills your mouth like a breeze through an open window. Clean, cool, alive. He shows you a twig, smooth, worn at one end, a toothstick. He motions the way he uses it, circles, gentle scrapes. Not pressure, just habit. The monks, it turns out, have time. Time to chew slowly. Time to clean gently. Time to grow the things that freshen the breath. And it makes a difference. Their teeth are not perfect. Far from it. But they're better. Fewer black edges. Fewer gaps. And their breath doesn't carry the scent of last week's stew. You walk through the herb garden, hands behind your back, as another monk explains, very softly, that they rinse with wine sometimes. Not to get drunk, just to clean. The sharpness helps. They also chew fennel, or aniseed, anything strong. Anything that grows nearby and leaves the mouth a little less dangerous. They don't eat much meat. That helps. And they avoid the hard bread. Always soft. Always soaked. Not because of toothaches, but because of rules. Lent. Simplicity. But it turns out simplicity is good for the gums. You realize, standing there in the garden, that wealth isn't the only path to a healthy mouth. Sometimes, silence and time are just as effective. Still, the rich do have their tricks. You've heard of nobles rubbing charcoal on their teeth, of imported powders from distant places, ground pearls, crushed bones, spices that burn, cloths soaked in salt and wine, used to rub the teeth until they shine. But those are luxuries, and even they don't work forever. You remember hearing about a wealthy merchant who lost his front teeth and replaced them with wooden pegs, carved to size, glued in with pitch and prayer. They stayed for a week, then came out in the middle of a meal. Everyone laughed, including him, because in the end, no one escapes. Whether monk, noble, or commoner, the tooth will go. You sit by the fountain a while longer, listening to the gentle splash of water, watching the way the light flickers on the surface. The monk returns with a cloth pouch. He places it in your hand. Inside, a few mint leaves, a stick, and a little salt wrapped in parchment. You nod, and he nods back. No words needed. You leave the monastery slowly, with the pouch in your pocket and a little more knowledge in your step. The road back is long, but peaceful. You chew another leaf. The taste wakes your mouth, reminds you that not all things from the ground are bitter. Back in the village, the noise returns. Carts, chickens, a baby crying somewhere out of sight. But you carry a bit of that silence with you now, and something fresher on your breath. You are standing near the village fire when you hear someone mention worms, not the kind in the garden, not the kind wriggling in the dirt after a rain. These are tooth worms, invisible, hidden, living inside the teeth of the unfortunate, causing pain, causing rot, making life miserable. You listen quietly as the speaker, a man with 3 visible teeth and a stick he insists is medicinal, explains that the worms bore into the enamel, that they wriggle when you eat something hot, that they cry out when you chew something cold, that they feed on sweetness, and sometimes on anger. You nod, slowly, thoughtfully, as though you've never heard such nonsense before. Even though you have. Many times, toothworms are one of those strange, persistent beliefs. A story passed down through years and pain and poorly understood suffering. And in a way, it makes sense. When something hurts, we want a reason. When it throbs, we imagine movement. When it rots, we imagine a creature. Something to blame. Something small and cruel and entirely unwelcome. People whisper about them after dark. A few even claim to have seen one. Always after a tooth falls out. Always shaped like a thread. Always gone before anyone else can see. The barber surgeon does not argue. He doesn't confirm it either. He simply removes the tooth and shrugs. Whether it was a worm or not no longer matters. You hear other things too. that you should never whistle after a toothache, that it invites the pain back, that you should bury your tooth under a flat stone, so it cannot find its way home, that smiling too much weakens the mouth, that laughter spreads the rot, that vanity leads to empty gums. You stand by the fire, your hands outstretched, warming your palms as the wind kicks up little swirls of ash. Someone else says they heard the pain comes from sin, that lies settle in the teeth, that too many angry words make them crack. You glance at the speaker. His mouth is full of gaps. You wonder what he must have said. A boy nearby ties a bit of string round his front tooth and a stone at the end. He plans to swing it and let gravity do the work. You wish him luck. You walk through the village slowly, past the doorways where stories live. One man swears by nettle tea. Another carries a charm, a carved tooth made from bone around his neck. A woman wears a small sack of herbs tied to her braid and says it wards off the ache. You don't ask which herbs. She wouldn't tell you anyway. Even the herbalist has her myths. She insists that toothache rises with the moon, that the pain follows the tide in your blood, that sleeping with your head pointing north draws the rot down into your neck. You no longer question these things, not because you believe them, but because belief itself is soothing. It gives the pain shape, meaning, control, and when it hurts enough, any reason will do. You remember your own infection, how it came, how it stayed, how it left. You don't remember praying to the moon or burying anything under a stone. But still, the pain faded. Maybe because of the herbs. Maybe because of time. Maybe because the worm got bored. Back inside your hut, you sit quietly with a piece of soft bread. You chew, slowly, thoughtfully. The space where your tooth once lived no longer screams when touched. Now it just hums, a low, distant memory. You lie down on your bed and look up at the beams overhead. You think of all the strange beliefs that have lived in this room. Beliefs that came and went, that helped, that didn't. And you wonder, centuries from now, will people still tell stories like this? Will they speak of worms and charms and midnight cures? Will they smile, wide and full of teeth, and wonder how anyone could believe such things? You close your eyes and feel a soft breeze drift through the window. Maybe, but even then, even with all the tools and knowledge in the world, someone will still feel that same pain, that dull, thudding pressure, that warm swelling in the jaw, and they too will whisper something, anything, to make it feel a little less cruel. You wake to silence. Not the kind that feels empty, but the kind that feels earned. Your cheek is no longer swollen. Your mouth tastes like bread and ash and sleep, but not blood. That is a small, quiet victory. You sit up, slowly, stretch. Your jaw opens without protest. The ache is still there, buried deep in the muscle, but it no longer rules you. It's just a shadow now, something left behind. You step outside and feel the soft wind move over your face. The sky is pale, blue pushing through the grey. A new day. Another chance to choose something without fear. You pass the blacksmith's house. He's drinking something hot, sitting on an upturned barrel. He nods at you and shows a wide grin, toothless. His gums are shiny, smooth, pale pink. He looks happy. He tells you, through a sip of whatever he's drinking, that he had them all out years ago. Best decision he ever made. No more pain, no more waiting, no more half measures. He laughs through his gums and pats his stomach. He eats soups, soft vegetables, roasted apples, fish. If someone else removes the bones, he is not just surviving, he is thriving, and he is not the only one. Later that day, You help the baker carry a sack of flour. She gives you a roll as thanks. It's fresh, warm, slightly crusty. You pause, then tear it open and eat the soft inside only. She watches, nods, and does the same. Her molars are long gone. She hasn't missed them. You think about what it means to live without teeth. It is inconvenient, yes, but not tragic. You can adjust. You can soften things, tear them, soak them. Avoid the hard and the sharp. You learn to chew with your gums, to press food against the roof of your mouth, to savor slowly, and no one stares. No one mocks, because this is normal here. Toothlessness is not rare, it's not shameful. It's not a sign of weakness. It's a sign that you made it through something, that you endured, that you lost a piece of yourself, and kept going. You think of your own tooth, where it might be now, still in the bucket at the barber shop, buried in ashes, tossed behind the building with the scraps. It doesn't matter, its story is finished. You still have others, still more to lose, perhaps, but for now you're learning how to live without the one. You walk past the well and see a man trying to bite into a plum. He grimaces, the skin resists. He gives up and mashes it with his thumb instead, licks the juice from his hand, smiles. You keep walking. The world has changed in a quiet way. You see things now, missing teeth, tilted jaws, half smiles, and they no longer seem like flaws, just normal, part of the landscape. You return home and sit by the fire. You brew something warm, chew a mint leaf from the monastery pouch, lean back, close your eyes. You feel different now, not weaker, just a little more adapted. You imagine a future where this happens again, where you wake up with another aching molar. You picture the process, the pain, the walk to the chair, the sound, and yet you're not afraid, because now you know you can survive it. You can sit in that crooked stool. You can bite the stick. You can hear the sound and still walk home afterward. You have done it once. You could do it again, but maybe, just maybe, you won't have to. Maybe you'll be one of the lucky ones. One of the ones who reach the end with just enough teeth to whisper through, and more than enough stories to tell. The sky is turning gold. When you step outside for the last time today, it's that strange, quiet hour just before dusk, when the village holds its breath and everything seems a little softer. The smoke from cooking fires curls into the air. Someone is chopping wood far off. A dog barks once, then loses interest. You walk slowly through the village, past the same homes and the same faces, but they look different now. Or maybe you do. The woman who sells cloth is sitting by her door, humming as she sews. She looks up, smiles at you with just one front tooth, and goes back to her stitching. The man who runs the mill walks by, chewing something, his cheeks round and full, no teeth visible, no need. You pass the barber's shop, and for a moment you pause. The red and white pole turns slowly in the wind. It doesn't feel menacing anymore, just familiar. You peek inside. No one is in the chair. The tools are laid out again, freshly cleaned, or at least rinsed. The assistant sits on a stool near the fire, carving something small from wood. He doesn't look up, but you know he sees you. You don't step in. You don't need to. Instead, you walk back to the edge of the village, past the bakery, past the stone well, past the last fence before the fields begin. You sit on the low wall and look out at the open land. The sky above is streaked with clouds, soft and pale like wool dipped in smoke. The horizon glows gently. You take a breath. The air is cool and earthy and just a little sweet, maybe from the trees, or the evening dew, or just your imagination. You chew the last of the mint leaves from the monastery. It's wilted now, but still holds a bit of sharpness. It wakes up your mouth, not in pain, just presence. You tilt your head and listen. Somewhere nearby, someone is laughing. It is not the loud, open laughter you hear at a feast. It is the quiet kind, the kind shared between people who understand each other, the kind that doesn't need many teeth. You smile. Your body has healed. Not completely, but enough. You will always feel the ghost of that tooth. When you chew, when you speak, when the cold air hits just right, it's part of you now. Not the pain itself, but the memory of surviving it. You are still standing, still eating, still part of the rhythm of this place. You close your eyes and let the day settle. You think of firelight, of mint, of warm broth, of laughter behind closed lips, of all the quiet things that make life bearable. Even when your mouth is full of history, and you know this is how it goes, pain, loss, healing, another day, another breath, another bite, a little slower this time, a little more careful, and somewhere in the middle of all of it, a kind of peace. Now lie back. Let the story drift behind you, soft and far away, like voices fading down a quiet path. Feel your breath settle, slow, easy, in, out. The pain is gone now. The fire is low. The village is still. Your jaw is still tender, but your body is calm. You made it through something, not with speed, not with ease, but with quiet strength, and now all that's left is rest. So let your thoughts dim like the last light of the day. Imagine the sky above you, soft blue turning to velvet grey. Imagine the fields quiet, the wind gentle, the earth warm beneath your feet. Let it all fade into softness. Let yourself drift. There is nothing left to do now. Just breathe. Just rest. Good night.